Hi everyone, we're back in the Skoda today, Skoda Fabia, and it's the VRS model. This one's around 2010, so it's 1.4, and it's charged with turbocharger and supercharger. So twin forced induction, which is very nice, and gives it plenty of bottom end grunt as well as top end. So it runs about 180 brake horse, this one. You can tune them quite easily to 220, is quite manageable and easy to get out of them, although they are quite a stressed engine being a 1.4 to get that sort of power out of them. And up until 2013 they did suffer engine problems. Now the ones I've seen, they've got melted pistons, and the piston, the lands where the piston rings sit actually melt, and it all comes away and makes a nice mess. Reasons for it doing that? Potentially, one of the reasons is that people run them on standard unleaded instead of super unleaded. If you look in the fuel cap, it says run them on 98 RON, which is super unleaded. And the reason for that is the higher the RON rating, the slower the burn rate on the fuel. So it could be that people are running them on just standard unleaded, and that means they run hotter if you're really giving them some beans than they should run, because the fuel burns that bit quicker. So yeah, it's possible owner error that causes the problem, running on the wrong fuel. So this one's on super unleaded, and we'll continue to run it on super unleaded because that's what it should have. Performance wise, probably doesn't make them a great deal different, but it will possibly give slightly better fuel economy running them on the right fuel. So although super unleaded is quite a bit dearer, it could be that that's offset by a little bit better economy. So yeah, it's I would think that when you see pistons melting, that suggests that something's going wrong beyond what the manufacturer was expecting, and running them on the wrong fuel could well be all that's causing the problem. So I'd highly recommend, if you've got one, run it on the right fuel. It may be that they realise that's what's going on, so later 2013 onwards they don't suffer these problems. It could be that all they've done is made them so that they run on standard unleaded fuel. Of course, they probably wouldn't put their hand up to that, because that would open up all sorts of liabilities. Although, that said, it is in the fuel cap, and it says 98 RON, so they'd have a get out clause, I'm sure, by saying, well, we said it should run on 98 RON in the fuel cap, so you put the wrong fuel in. Manufacturers do have brilliant ways of getting out of things at times, and that would be their get out on this one, I'm sure. Anyway, that's the Skoda. It hasn't really had the right roads or anything so far to give it a little bit of throttle and see what it goes like, but we're just coming up to a section of dual carriageway, so we will get a chance to just put our foot down a little bit there, I'm sure, and see what it's like. But yeah, the only thing it does struggle for is in the lower gears. It really struggles for grip. It just wants to shred its tyres every time you pull away if you're a little bit heavy-footed. And it's got DSG gearbox in these. The fun bit with the DSG box is sometimes it just gets the wrong gear. Coming down that bit of a hill there, it didn't really need to change down, but it went from 7th gear to 3rd gear, so then it starts revving a little bit higher, quite a bit higher. So that's just a bit of a weird anomaly with the box. And then way around that is to put it into, move the gear lever across and use the paddle shifters. So when I'm going back that way, again, going uphill seems to confuse it at times, so it doesn't quite change down early enough, and then when it does change, it changes too many and it's all over the place. It changes back up again. So I usually, before I get to the bottom of the hill, I just put the gear lever into manual mode and use the paddle shifts to change gears for myself. And I find if you hit the bottom of that hill in 5th gear, it just flies up it. Absolutely flies. So yeah, it does go. So here we go now onto the dual carriageway. Without wheel spinning, it is off. It flies away. Slow down a little bit. It certainly wants to go, that's for sure. So yeah, whether you can sense that on camera or not, I don't know, but it's quite entertaining, it has to say. Yeah, it's got, I don't know what the official figures are for this, but it must be pretty rapid 0 to 60 on it, if you can get the front wheels to grip. So that's the big problem, is getting the front wheels to grip, and they don't always like doing it, but especially in this sort of weather conditions where the roads are damp and it's late autumn really, so you know the roads are a bit greasy, and yeah, it's fun and games trying to get grip at times. But, we did put brand new tyres on the front to try and help the situation, but even they struggle. This one has got a lowering kit on it, so it looks quite nice. It's about 40mm lower than it should be, but the trade-off with that is, yes, it looks good, but the ride quality is atrocious. I think I'm at the age now where I'd rather have a bit more compliant ride, and rather than crashing and banging over every bump. But it was already done when we got the car, so we're stuck with it really. I wouldn't go to the extreme of changing it back. But it's on UK roads, lowering kits are not a great idea, because you need a bit of spring travel and you need a bit of compliance for the car to handle well. Otherwise it just bounces over bumps, and if your tyres aren't in contact with the road, well, it ain't going to handle very well. And that's the problem. It's, you know, if you're driving the thing on a racetrack, well, that's different, or doing track days with it. But for standard UK roads, it doesn't help the handling at all. In fact, it makes you as a driver more nervous, because you know it's going to skip and bounce over the bumps. I've driven the same road in an Audi TT that was lowered, and my Range Rover, and I reckon I can be quicker down the same road in my Range Rover, because the suspension travels and the tyres stay in contact with the road, and it just feels nicer. It was a particularly bumpy road, obviously, but the suspension travel is what you need on a standard road, really. So we're here, we're at work, so we'll call it a day at that.